Not too long ago, he activated a mysterious system, one that lets him tap into the deepest emotions of his enemies. But right now, standing in the middle of absolute chaos, that power doesn't seem all that useful. Soldiers around him are panicking. The monsters they're up against are way stronger than expected. And yet, Ceres doesn't move. Meanwhile, Bella is barely holding on. "Ceres, please, you have to escape," she pleads, but he shakes his head. No matter how bad things get, he won't abandon the city or its people. Watching from a distance, completely unbothered, is Demon Princess Yug, another weak human trying to play hero? Predictable. Yug's lips curl into a smirk. "All right, kill him. Bring me his head as a gift for my king." And just like that, the real fight begins. Without hesitation, Ceres locks onto Yug as his target and activates his system. The thick elf lunges forward, ready to crush him, but instead of attacking, she does something completely unexpected. She leans in and kisses him. For a moment, everything stops. Ceres feels a sudden surge of power rushing through his body. Bella's jaw drops in disbelief. Even the goblins, mid-charge, freeze. What is she doing?" one of them blurts out, utterly confused. Yug blinks, snapping back to reality as she pulls away immediately. What just happened? That's exactly what Ceres wanted to know. She shakes off her unease and narrows her eyes. "I was going to kill him, so why did I just—" But Ceres isn't distracted. He stands firm. "For the people of this city, I will fight until my last breath." Meanwhile, the goblins aren't focused on the fight anymore. They're straight up jealous. "Tch, the princess kissed a human?" one mutters. "Why couldn't it be one of us?" But Yug doesn't have time to deal with their complaints. Something is wrong. Her body refuses to obey her orders. She shoves those thoughts aside. "Kill him." The goblin leader charges in. With a single swing, Ceres' sword shatters like glass. His eyes widen. "What the hell? One hit?" The goblin lunges again, but this time, Ceres dodges effortlessly, his movement suddenly sharper, faster. He counters with a devastating strike, breaking their weapons like twigs. One goblin tries to sneak up from behind, but Ceres is already on it. He spins, unleashing all his strength in a single blow. The goblin is sent flying into the air, crashing down hard. Bella watches in shock. How the hell does an F rank have that kind of strength? But Ceres doesn't have time to celebrate. He grits his teeth. "These green bastards are still standing?" Suddenly, Yug moves. She slams her leg down, the sheer force shattering the ground beneath them. The impact sends shockwaves through the battlefield. As the dust settles, Yug looms over Ceres, pinning him down. A goblin seizes the moment to attack, but before it can land a hit, Yug's massive tail whips through the air, slicing clean through the creature. The goblins stagger back in confusion. "Princess, what are you doing?" one asks hesitantly. Yug glares at them. "Stay back. This human needs to learn a lesson." The goblins exchange glances but nod in unison. If their princess demands it, they won't question it. She steps closer. Droplets of saliva drip from her lips, landing on Ceres' ear. He feels his defenses rising. His body grows stronger, the system reacting to her touch. As he looks up at her, he notices something. Despite her fierce expression, Yug is struggling. Her body betrays her. She's torn between her duty as a monster and an attraction she never expected. Just as he prepares his next move, Yug strikes. Her massive tail coils around his throat, lifting him off the ground. Slowly, she pulls at his tattered t-shirt. Her emotions spiral out of control. Her heart pounds with a mix of rage, desire, and shame. "What is this? Why do I—" She clenches her jaw. She can't stop herself. Despite everything, she's drawn to him. Ceres, barely hanging on, braces himself. His armor cracks. His heartbeat thunders in his ears. He tells himself to endure, to hold out for the city's sake. But deep down, he wonders, is this really a fight he can win? Then it happens. Yug leans in again. This time, there's no hesitation, no confusion. She kisses him. Not a mistake, not an accident. A raw, intense kiss that shocks them both. But before either of them can react, the ground shakes. The Demon King has arrived. A sword slips from his grip as he takes in the scene. His voice, sharp as steel, cuts through the battlefield. "Yug!" Yug jerks back, face flushed with shock and embarrassment. The king's golden eyes lock onto Ceres. His expression twists with fury. "You kissed him?" Yug stumbles over her words. My lord, it's not what you think. Please, let me explain." But Bartley isn't listening. His rage explodes. "You disgrace me, Yug! You disgrace the throne!" His eyes narrow on Ceres, burning with murderous intent. "Human, you die here!" King Bartley, his rage boiling over, charges at Ceres, shouting with fury, "Stay away from my Yug!" In an instant, his monstrous power propels him forward, striking Ceres with such force that he's thrown high into the air, crashing hard to the ground with a sickening thud. Bella watches in horror, her voice trembling as she calls out, "Are you okay?" Ceres, gritting his teeth against the pain, responds with a strained smile, "I'm still holding on." But as he pushes himself up, a gnawing question lingers in his mind. Why did King Bartley appear now? And how is his attack power so immense? Meanwhile, Bartley, trembling with barely contained fury, turns to Yug and demands, "Didn't you say this wouldn't happen again?" Yug remains silent, and Bartley's anger flares even hotter. "Do you still remember the last words you said?" Yug, eyes blazing with defiance, snaps back, "Why did you take so long to show up? What were you doing all this time?" The shock in both Bartley and the goblins is palpable. She continues, her voice rising with each word. "It's all because of you! You led me to make the same mistake again! You messed things up, and now you dare question me, threaten me?" Bartley is taken aback, struggling to find the words to respond. His voice falters, but he tries to explain. "I saw so many humans fleeing, I had to deal with them first." One of the goblins murmurs to another, "Our king really does care about the queen. No wonder he managed to marry someone like her." Ceres, his body sore and tense, can't help but think about the vast gulf between him and the Demon King. The difference in their strength is overwhelming. As Bartley demands Yug stop crying, Ceres and Bella quietly begin to retreat, knowing that this fight is far from over. As Bartley notices Ceres and Bella trying to escape, he roars, "Why didn't you stop them?" He turns his fury on the goblins. The goblins, ever loyal, respond, "Your Highness gave the order not to interfere with their matters." Furious beyond reason, Bartley shouts, "Idiots!" and charges toward Ceres. Ceres feels a cold dread as the Demon King barrels toward him. "How dare you seduce my beloved woman?" Bartley roars, his voice shaking with rage. Before Ceres can react, Bartley kicks him, sending him flying through the air. Ceres crashes to the ground with bone-jarring force, feeling like every part of his body is shattered. As he struggles to rise, Ceres realizes there's no way he can defend against such overwhelming power. The speed of Bartley's attack was far beyond his own abilities. Bartley looms over him, promising to split him in two. "This is what you get for trying to seduce my woman," he bellows. Desperation rises in Ceres's chest. He knows he can't survive this fight unless he upgrades. With a shout, he calls out to his system, locking on and requesting a quick power boost. But before he can react further, a sharp sound rings through the air. Yug slaps Bartley with all her might, her fury matched only by her desperation. "Don't hurt him," she commands. Bartley, stunned by the slap, stumbles back. In that brief moment, Ceres takes the opportunity to run. Bartley, his voice breaking with emotion, calls after her, "Do you really care about that human?" As the realization hits him, and Ceres feels a surge of energy as his power levels increase from the emotional turmoil in the air. Ceres wonders if he could possibly stand a chance against Bartley now, but the thought is fleeting. Realizing that the fight is far from his reach, he decides the best course of action is to put distance between himself and the Demon King. Yug, her emotions a whirlwind of confusion and desire, whispers to herself, "I really need that human body." Bartley, still holding on to her hand, asks, his voice desperate, "What are you saying, Yug? I'm your lifelong love, remember?" With a violent jerk, Yug pulls away from Bartley and runs towards Ceres. She's driven by an insatiable urge, her body betraying her as she races toward the human. Ceres, sensing someone behind him, turns to find Yug leaping over him, her lips crashing against his in a passionate kiss. Bartley's heart breaks as he watches in stunned silence, his voice thick with disbelief. Yug, lost in the moment, doesn't care. She pulls Ceres closer, her tail coiling around him as she deepens the kiss. Her body, so filled with conflicting emotions, still finds an odd sense of joy in this act. Bella, trying to intervene, screams at Yug to stop, but the demon princess pays her no mind. Yug, lost in her own desires, holds Bella in place with her tail, and once again she kisses Ceres, her lips trailing along his as she wonders why she's acting like this. The answer is simple. Deep down, she feels something for him, something she can't quite control. Bartley, his heart shattered, shouts one last time, "I won't give in! I won't lose her to a human!" but his voice is a hollow echo in the face of the reality unfolding before him. Ceres, with a swift motion, unsheathed his sword and unleashed his new skill, Swift Body Slash. In an instant, Bartley was defeated, his form collapsing to the ground in defeat. Yug stood frozen, stunned by the overwhelming power of the single strike. Ceres, wondering if he should continue upgrading and acquiring new skills, was briefly interrupted by Yug's voice, frustrated and unimpressed. "Bartley was weak," she muttered. "I knew he wouldn't last." But before they could process the victory, Bartley suddenly lunged toward Yug, grabbing her with terrifying speed. Startled, Yug's grip on Bella loosened. "Die!" Bartley shouted, his eyes wild with madness. Meanwhile, Yug, tears streaming down her face, cried out, pleading with Bartley to release her. In a moment of sheer panic, she cried, "Who will save me?" Without warning, Ceres appeared before her. With a swift motion, he severed Bartley's hands, grabbed Yug, and dashed away from the impending explosion. Bartley's final heart-wrenching cry echoed through the air as he self-destructed. The earth trembled, and the ground beneath them shattered, sending the three of them plummeting into the depths below. The world spun as they fell, and when they finally hit the ground, Yug landed on top of Ceres. Dazed and disoriented, Ceres wondered aloud if they had just reached the bottom of the dungeon. His musings were interrupted by a flicker of movement. A salamander appeared before them. To his surprise, Ceres's system identified it as Yug's salamander form. Before he could react, Yug dashed into hiding, seeking refuge in the folds of Ceres's pants. Meanwhile, Bella began to stir, groggily wondering about Ceres. At that moment, Ceres received a notification from his system, "Dungeon map detected." Uncertain whether to open it, Ceres hesitated, but his attention was diverted when he realized Bella was in an awkward position above him. Flustered, she quickly scrambled away, apologizing for the unintended proximity. Ceres, now feeling a bit awkward himself, opened the map. His eyes scanned the detailed layout, dead ends, traps, hidden resources. A sense of relief washed over him. With the map, he could now navigate the dungeon with confidence. Bella, confused, asked what he was looking at. Ceres quickly dismissed it, pretending nothing was amiss. But in his mind, he realized that the map was something only he could see. Suddenly, a sharp pain pierced his chest, and Ceres doubled over in agony, vomiting a strange purple substance, blood or poison he couldn't tell. His little finger began to shrivel, consumed by flickering flames. The pain intensified, his body writhing as it was slowly engulfed by fire. Bella, terrified, rushed to his side, wrapping her arms around him, trying to comfort him as she held his hand. As she pulled him close, half of his little finger flew off, burnt away by the flames. Despite the pain, Ceres managed a strained smile, trying to reassure Bella. "I'll be fine," he gasped through clenched teeth, but Bella was not convinced. "Why is it melting like that?" she asked, her voice full of concern. Ceres took a deep breath and began to explain, his voice faltering with the weight of the memory. "6 months ago, I witnessed a battle between several monsters and a hero from the guild. They were fighting over a mysterious box. When one of the monsters slashed it open, there was an explosion, and blood rained down from the sky." He paused, his voice thick with the pain of the memory. "I was thrown into the ruins by the blast, and the blood rain. It fell all around us. The smell was overpowering like poison. People screamed in agony, burning from the contact." Ceres continued, his tone distant. "I didn't touch the rain directly, but I think I inhaled the fumes. My back began to hurt, and it's been like this ever since, poisoned by the air. When he woke up in the hospital, his system had given him a warning. The blood of the demon lord could cure the poison. He'd agreed to the quest, and that's when he learned the blood was in the Nay dungeon. With renewed determination, Ceres stood up, pushing past the pain. "We need to go," he said, gesturing towards a nearby room. "There's a place ahead with clothes and weapons. We should change first." Bella nodded, still worried, but followed him as they moved toward the room, ready for whatever lay ahead in the dungeon's depths. The scene shifted to another part of the dungeon, where a group of adventurers carefully made their way through the dimly lit corridors. At the front of the group, a man stepped forward, unaware that his foot had just triggered a deadly trap. A laser ray shot out from the floor, narrowly missing him. "Step back!" barked Vice Captain Mark, his voice sharp with urgency. "It's a mechanism! Don't move unless I say so! One wrong step and we're all dead!" The group froze, horrified by the sudden danger. Cyrus, the group leader, surveyed the scene with a cold, calculating gaze. "This dungeon isn't easy to crack," he muttered. "Makui, get up here. You're the lowest rank, so you should be the one to figure this out." Makui, his face pale, tried to retreat, but Cyrus's voice cut through the air like a whip. "Get back here! Find the right route, or you'll regret it!" Makui flinched, terrified of the consequences but unable to speak. Tyre, an archer, stepped forward, a bow in hand. "I can make an arrow that bounces and explores the path," he suggested. But before he could even notch the arrow, Cyrus slashed it in half with a single motion. "Don't waste my time with your shoddy creations," he growled. "If I see that again, I'll wipe you out myself." Tyr said nothing, his frustration simmering beneath the surface. Cyrus turned his attention back to Makui. "You've got no choice. Move," he ordered. Shaking, Makui took a hesitant step forward, his heart pounding in his chest. The floor was littered with potential traps, and each step felt like it could be his last. He paused, unsure of where to place his foot next. "Make a decision, Makui," Cyrus snapped, his patience wearing thin. With a trembling breath, Makui carefully moved his foot to the next step. Miraculously, nothing happened. The mechanism lay dormant. Cyrus nodded, a rare praise in his voice. "Good, keep going." But Makui couldn't shake the feeling that death was just one wrong move away. His thoughts spiraled with panic. On the verge of breaking down, Makui cried out, "I don't want to die! I just want to go home!" His voice was desperate, pleading for the torment to end. But as his foot touched the next step, the laser ray shot out, instantly disintegrating him in a flash of light. The group was left in stunned silence, their faces pale with shock. "That's the thing with these traps," Mark murmured. "The attack location changes every time, and it always comes without warning." Just as they were about to move forward with their plan, the door behind them suddenly creaked open. Ceres and Bella stepped out, looking as if they'd been caught in the middle of something. Cyrus's eyes widened, his face twisting in disbelief. "What are you doing here? The decoy team was supposed to be eliminated," he said, his voice dangerously low. "Did you disobey orders and escape?" Cyrus demanded, anger flashing in his eyes. "And tell me, how do you know the color of my wife's underwear? Have you been spying on her?" Ceres, tense and unyielding, responded, "I can perceive the color of everything around me. It's just instinct." Before Cyrus could retort, one of his teammates stepped in, urging him to calm down. The situation was escalating quickly, and tempers were flaring. Suddenly, Ceres shouted, his voice filled with conviction, "I'll never let you slander my integrity." He turned to Cyrus and boldly declared, "The first person wasn't even wearing underwear, and you're wearing pink, while the others have their own choices in attire." Cyrus's teammates murmured, some urging him to just eliminate Ceres. Others, however, suggested putting Ceres into the bait group, figuring it would eliminate their need to interfere with his fate directly. Ceres, confused by the turn of events, wondered why he was encountering a raiding party instead of being given the chance to exchange equipment. Before he could voice his thoughts, Cyrus barked an order. "Come here, Ceres. You'll lead the way now." Ceres couldn't help but wonder if this meant the lower-level members would have to walk through the traps once again. Tyr spoke up, advising Ceres to follow their current route to avoid triggering the mechanisms, but Cyrus was unbothered. "We've sacrificed enough for this. No turning back now." Cyrus's gaze fixed on Ceres, a sharp warning in his eyes. Ceres, hesitant, glanced over at Bella, her face etched with concern. Still, Ceres straightened and stepped forward. "I'll go," he said, his voice steady. Cyrus gave the order. Without missing a beat, Ceres took the first step forward. The group watched in awe, unsure how he could move so confidently through a path that had already claimed the life of their comrade. As Ceres made his way forward, the map in his system guided him step by step, and the group was left in stunned silence. They couldn't understand how he was avoiding the traps. Cyrus narrowed his eye, sensing Ceres's pause. "Do you see the traps?" he asked. But Ceres shook his head. "I'm just following the path," Ceres replied, his tone calm. The group couldn't comprehend how Ceres was succeeding where Makui had failed. When Ceres jumped to avoid a step, they assumed it was sheer luck. But as he continued forward, the map confirmed his path, telling him to take 5 more steps. Ceres smiled as he approached the end of the path. "It's all thanks to my training," he said. "And as for Shin, I have no involvement." Still, Cyrus was skeptical. He unsheathed his sword and placed it against Ceres's neck, eyes burning with distrust. "Luck or not, I don't believe in your so-called intuition. Prove it." Lead us the rest of the way. Ceres suddenly spots some mushrooms. When consumed by monsters, they boost stamina, but if a human eats them, they might end up with diarrhea. Ceres wonders if Yug is hungry, thinking about picking the mushrooms for her, but instead, he decides to grab some for himself. Cyrus notices Ceres about to eat them and asks what he's doing. Before Ceres can explain, Cyrus snatches the mushrooms, declaring that all resources belong to the Heroes Guild and the Crusade Squad. Cyrus orders Cyrus to move to the front, but Ceres points out that there are no traps behind the door. Still, Cyrus insists he should go ahead and open it, unwilling to let his team take any risks. Ceres approaches the door, about to open it when Cyrus orders everyone to stay alert. But just then, Cyrus starts feeling ill. Ceres opens the door easily, while Tyr, ever cautious, urges everyone to stay alert for anything unexpected. Soon, the air around Cyrus grows foul. Ceres moves further inside, but Cyrus, his stomach churning, shouts to ask what's in there. He's tense, wondering why his stomach is acting up at such a crucial moment. Suddenly, it hits him. The mushroom. He tells everyone there are traps ahead. Ceres starts running, urging his teammates to keep up. Cyrus yells that he's not allowed to run and walk slowly. But as they move, Cyrus's stomach trouble worsens. He's now releasing gas uncontrollably. The stench fills the air and everyone starts to panic, thinking something dangerous is behind them. The group quickens its pace, commenting on how the smell feels oddly familiar. Embarrassed, Cyrus yells at them to stop talking nonsense and focus on running. Ceres slows down, exhausted. Cyrus, furious, demands to know if Ceres intentionally made him eat the mushrooms. Ceres responds that he didn't know. A teammate suggests Cyrus rest, but he kicks him away, insisting they keep moving forward. Cyrus points his sword at Ceres, warning him that if he dares run again, he'll strike him down. Ceres keeps moving, reminding everyone about the traps and the dragon sleeping nearby. Ceres wonders if they're nearing the final stretch. Cyrus, however, is puzzled that no traps have triggered as they go deeper into the dungeon. He begins to wonder, could Ceres have been here before? But he quickly dismisses it, thinking, that can't be true. Ceres cuts in, saying they must be nearing the boss's room. Cyrus, now suspicious, thinks that Ceres has no value left if they've reached the boss. With a determined look, Cyrus draws his sword and channels a bit of magic, slicing through a sharp-pointed object. He smiles, thinking it'd be a fitting, if accidental, death for an F-level dungeon explorer. But just as he does, the monster strikes, its tail slamming into Cyrus. The group panics, shouting to check if Cyrus is okay, but the creature's attack sends the beast around them instead. The dungeon trembles as a wall forms, trapping Ceres on the other side. He realizes it's over. He's stuck. Then from behind, a voice calls out, asking why there's a human in the dungeon. Ceres turns to see a woman standing there, a stranger. Her name is Sadiel. B+, the monster under Sadiel's control, looms before Cyrus and his team. Tyr quickly shouts orders, commanding the tankers to block the creature's movements and prepare for battle. The archers take aim and release a volley of arrows, striking the beast. Tyr urges them to keep firing, but the monster suddenly roars, releasing a shockwave of force that repels every arrow shot at it. The power of the roar makes it difficult for anyone to stand their ground. Tyr is shocked as the monster's sheer strength renders their attacks ineffective. Cyrus tries to rally the group, reminding them that it's just one monster, and they can defeat it. Meanwhile, Ceres wonders if the voice he's hearing belongs to yet another monster lurking nearby. Out of nowhere, a massive scorpion tail swings towards Ceres. With quick reflexes, he narrowly dodges the attack, puzzled about what he's facing. The scorpion lunges again, but Ceres avoids it once more. I hope you can handle this, Ceres mutters, gathering 3,190 attack power into his fist. With a single blow, he strikes the scorpion puppet, tearing a hole through its body. Slowly, its pieces explode outward, scattering in all directions. Sadiel watches, impressed by Ceres's strength. Despite his success, Ceres feels frustrated and considers escaping to conserve his energy for more important battles. Sadiel, unfazed, comments, "It doesn't matter. I used the monster to twist your face, but now I'll do it myself." Ceres is stunned as he realizes she controls a female monster. Ceres retorts, "My head isn't something you can easily twist off." Sadiel sneers, "I wouldn't dare touch your disgusting body." She reveals that she's controlling the scorpion puppets with strings attached to her hands. "I'll deal with you first," she says coldly. "Then, I'll finish off the others." Ceres, filled with determination, declares, Protecting humanity is my duty. I'll fight you with everything I've got. Sadiel attacks, asking mockingly, "Is that so?" She pins Sirius's head to the ground with one powerful leg, forcing him to fall. His system activates, locking onto her as the target. She dismisses him with a cold laugh. "A guy like you means nothing to me." Meanwhile, the scorpion puppet stops fighting. Tyre, noticing this, cheers. "Look, the monster's head is turning red. Our attacks are finally working." Ceres, now struggling under Sadiel's relentless pressure, is shocked by her speed. Sadiel casually remarks, "It's impressive that you made it this far, but Lord Ney despises you." She presses her second leg onto his face, and Ceres realizes just how strong she is. With no time to waste, he pulls his head back and snaps, biting her foot. Sadiel recoils in disgust, shouting, "Ugh, that's revolting!" Bella, sensing the fight has stalled too long, decides to act. "I need to get him out of there," she thinks, determined to help. She calls to Tyre, asking him to cover her as she rushes forward, her heart pounding with hope that Ceres is still holding on. The scorpion puppet, noticing Bella, prepares to strike, but Tyr steps in, blocking the attack with his sword. It's difficult, but he holds firm. Bella continues running, thinking it's just a pile of rocks. Ceres has to be fine. Sadiel, growing disgusted, loosens her grip on Ceres. With a surge of strength, Ceres finally breaks free from her headlock, breathing a sigh of relief. Ceres's system warns him that he can't use the instant kill skill without a weapon, sending a wave of frustration through him. He throws a punch at Sadiel, but she effortlessly dodges, landing a swift kick to his face. The blow sends him flying, crashing into a stone. Sadiel, feeling an odd sense of satisfaction, muses that she enjoys kicking him and wonders what's happening to her. With a flick of her wrist, she quickly defeats him. Grabbing the tail of the puppet monster, she prepares for another attack. Ceres, ever agile, sees the tail coming and dodges it with ease. He channels magic into his hand and slices the tail into 2 clean parts. But Sadiel isn't done yet. She strikes again, locking his face with her leg. With a wicked smile, Sadiel gloats, "I won't let you go this time." Ceres, furious, retaliates, gripping her legs in an attempt to break free and show her his strength. Sadiel feels something strange when he touches her and quickly jumps away. But before he can react, she stomps on his face, using the cut pieces of the tail to hold his hand down. Ceres, stunned, realizes that the tail he'd just destroyed is now holding him. Her suppression is so overwhelming that he can barely move. As she presses down on him, her power only seems to grow, and he struggles to defend himself. She smirks, telling him, "Humans are born to be trampled." Meanwhile, the puppet monster fighting Tyr outside starts losing its balance. The team senses victory is within reach. Sadiel revels in her dominance over Ceres, while Bella races toward the stones. Tyr, noticing the danger, shouts at Bella to be careful, but it's too late. The scorpion tail strikes, and Bella is hit. Ceres, still pinned by Sadiel, shouts at her to stop touching him inappropriately. The tail swings toward Cyrus, but he manages to dodge it. However, even from a distance, he notices the tail's power, able to break through walls with ease. Sadiel, pleased with her work, feels her agitation rise to 95%. As the scorpion puppet begins twitching and halting its attack, Cyrus realizes the moment has come. The puppet seems to be distracted, and the chance for a counterattack is right before him. Seizing the opportunity, Cyrus unleashes his roaring tiger sever. The massive force of the attack sends the scorpion puppet flying, crashing to the ground in defeat. Cheers erupt from the team, praising Cyrus for his strength and precision. The agitation value of the monster climbs to 98%, and it begins vomiting violently. The team believes Cyrus's attack has caused the monster such pain that it's now in agony. The praise continues to flow for Cyrus, and he steps forward, calmly requesting that everyone step aside. "Let me handle the rest of this," he declares, ready to finish the job and deal with the scorpion puppet once and for all. Sadiel feels a strange tension within herself, wondering why she's behaving so oddly with a human body. The emotions cloud her focus, but she decides to push them aside and stay calm. Meanwhile, Ceres fights to maintain his resilience, particularly his legs, which are growing weaker by the second. If this continues, she'll drain him completely. Ceres, refusing to back down, shouts that he'll never submit. But Sadiel silences him, pushing her leg forcefully into his mouth, demanding he shut up. She doesn't want to hear him. Ceres feels a familiar sensation, something similar to what he experienced with Yug, and realizes that the girls are playing with him. But despite this, his powers grow rapidly, his strength increasing by over 2,000 points with each passing moment. Outside, the scorpion puppet battles Cyrus, but Sadiel, distracted by her own emotions, isn't controlling it with full power. Seeing his opportunity, Cyrus unleashes his sacred whirlwind slash, defeating the puppet in a single strike. The team erupts into celebration, but the celebration is short-lived. Tyre even praises him, claiming that Cyrus defeated the puppet with a single blow. Back with Cyrus, his defenses rise by 3,340 points, and his agility shoots up by an astounding 4,210 points. Sadiel, still enjoying the moment, suddenly hears Lord Ney's voice, questioning the noise outside. Startled, Sadiel leaps off Cyrus and retreats, realizing she almost forgot Ney's command to eliminate the humans. She knows she has to correct her mistake, and quickly. Meanwhile, Cyrus's attack power surges by 10,000 points, a deadly aura surrounding him as his killing intent grows. He glares at Sadiel, asking coldly if she still wants to continue. Sadiel feels the shift in his presence, sensing the same oppressive energy that Ney exudes. Her body tenses with unease. Without another word, she flees, but Cyrus is left confused for a moment. He briefly considers chasing her, but decides against it, focusing instead on reaching the demon god's blood in the boss room. He conserves his energy, knowing Sadiel has already drained him enough. The group, still celebrating Cyrus's victory, watches as Bella rushes toward the rock walls, intent on finding Cyrus. Just as she approaches, Cyrus bursts through the wall, surprising her. She looks him over and asks if he's okay, noting that although he looks fine, he's covered in dust and might have internal injuries. Cyrus reassures her with a simple, "I'm fine." But Bella insists that he let the medical team check him. Cyrus reluctantly agrees, giving a quiet, "okay." From a distance, Tyr watches, his fists clenched in barely contained fury, his feelings for Bella clearly evident. Cyrus then steps forward, addressing the group. He announces that they will follow him, as he plans to defeat the boss alone. The team is in awe, praising their captain's strength. Cyrus, feeling confident, figures that the dungeon's danger level is likely closer to a D rank. He believes his achievements here will earn him a well-deserved promotion in the guild. Meanwhile, in Lord Ney's room, Sadiel reports the unexpected news. A very powerful human is outside. His strength has surged to unimaginable levels, and she warns Ney to be cautious when facing him. Ney, in a tense voice, demands to know why Sadiel has disobeyed her orders. Before Sadiel can explain herself, Ney fires a blast of energy that rips right through her, instantly defeating her. Ney's voice rings out, cold and unforgiving. "I don't want to hear your excuses." With a flick of her magic, she lifts Sadiel's unconscious body and tosses her onto a pile of corpses. "You'll become firewood," she sneers. A strange pond of green liquid begins to form beneath Sadiel's still body. As she murmurs in fear, "I don't want to die," Ney coldly observes that the blood of the demon god has begun to boil, fueled by the countless humans and monsters sacrificed. Suddenly, the door to Ney's room bursts open. Ney spins around, demanding to know who dares to enter. Her eyes widen when she sees who it is. Cyrus stands in the doorway, a confident grin on his face. "It's me," he declares, his voice filled with mocking authority. "Your daddy! And I'm here to beat you down." Ciri sees the demon god's blood, and his system alerts him that it can detoxify him. Ney, eyeing the powerful aura around Cyrus, asks if he's the human Sadiel mentioned. Ciri wonders if the green blood could be the antidote he's been seeking. Cyrus stands tall, commanding his team's attention. He declares he'll take on the C-rank dungeon boss alone, and his teammates cheer, eager to witness the might of a human. However, to Ciri's shock, the object on the platform isn't the monster, but the very blood of the demon god itself. Without hesitation, Cyrus charges toward Ney, but she quickly counters, unleashing a devastating attack. A blinding yellow light sears through Cyrus's A-rank armor, sending him crashing into a nearby wall. His teammates rush to check on him, while Ney mocks the humans, claiming Sadiel was useless to her. Cyrus, though stunned by the blast, realizes the attack has completely shattered his armor with a single strike. Thankfully, His S-rank soft dragon scale armor underneath remains intact, but the experience leaves him shaken. His mind races. Why are the monsters so powerful, and what is happening within this dungeon? Instead of attacking head-on, he decides to wear down Nei's forces first, using his team's strength before stepping in for the final blow. Despite the pain, Cyrus stands, his resolve hardening. He orders his team to charge forward, but Tyr interrupts, calmly suggesting they stick to their original formation to minimize casualties. Furious, Cyrus demands Tyr's obedience, but Tyr, ever the calm strategist, chooses not to defy him. Cyrus gives a sharp command for everyone to pick up their weapons, assuring them of his unwavering support. Nei, seeing the humans attempt to regroup, scoffs and prepares for her next assault. She unleashes a blast so fierce that it incinerates most of Cyrus's team in an instant. Ciri, quick on his feet, manages to pull Bella and Mark out of harm's way, but many are left injured, some burned beyond recognition. Cyrus barely avoids the blast, but his sword is reduced to ash in his hand. Shocked and realizing the odds are against him, Cyrus calls for a retreat. The surviving members of his team begin to flee, but Tyr, his expression filled with rage, sees Cyrus trying to escape. To his surprise, Ciri grabs Cyrus's hand, refusing to let him go. Cyrus tries to shake him off, demanding that Ciri stay and die if he wishes, but as captain, his command is law. Ciri's grip is unwavering. Fury surges through Cyrus and he attempts to break free, but Ciri twists his hand, causing pain to shoot through his arm. In a swift movement, Ciri pulls him closer and lifts him up. Ciri's voice rings out with determination. As captain, you should follow your own words. With that, as Nei prepares another beam, Ciri hurls Cyrus toward it, telling him to block the attack with his body to cover the retreat. Cyrus crashes into the beam, the impact knocking him back and giving his team precious seconds to escape. His teammates scatter, and one of them is left stunned by what they've just witnessed. Cyrus, badly injured, Ciri turns toward Nei, fury in his eyes. Now, it's my turn. Bella and Tyr, ever loyal, decide to stay and fight. Bella, standing firm, pledges her loyalty to Ciri, while Tyr, the B-class hero, vows to eliminate the monsters and never follow Cyrus again. Meanwhile, Nei eyes Ciri, wondering why he doesn't flee, despite knowing her power. "Are you looking down on me?" she sneers. Without waiting for a response, she launches another deadly beam. Ciri, faster than ever, counters with a swift body slash, forcing Nei to hesitate for just a moment. The fury in her eyes intensifies. Realizing that Ciri isn't only fighting her, he's headed for the altar with the demon god's blood. Nei's mind races, wondering if Ciri's true goal isn't defeating her but claiming the blood for himself. Ciri's races toward the altar, only a few meters away from his goal. Nei yells, ordering him to stay away from her altar, but in that moment, Bella and Tyr strike from behind, seizing the opportunity to attack. To their surprise, Nei easily blocks both their swords, then turns her attention to Cyrus, calling him a cockroach for his speed. "Dare not attack Cyrus!" Bella shouts defiantly. Tyr and Bella push against Nei, but just as she launches an attack, her foot slips slightly, causing her aim to falter. Cyrus dodges the misdirected blast just in time and leaps forward, thinking he's about to reach the altar. However, as Cyrus gets closer, he sees a glowing magic array and tenses. The moment his hand touches it, a violent blast erupts, sending him flying backward. Nei smirks, explaining that she personally crafted the magic array. No living creature can cross it as long as she's alive. Cyrus reluctantly admits that charging ahead to drink the demon god's blood won't work. They'll need to defeat the boss to proceed. As he regains his footing, Cyrus notices something strange in the gaps of the walls. Meanwhile, Nei, infuriated, throws Bella and Mark aside, calling them arrogant fools for underestimating her power. Bella and Tyr crash to the ground, slightly injured but still conscious. Cyrus is momentarily distracted by the sight of the female monster slipping past him. He wonders how she managed to escape and, to his surprise, hears her trembling voice asking him to stay quiet, warning him not to alert Nei. She adds that her ritual requires calmness and that he should suppress his anger until after they're all wiped out. Cirrus tenses, realizing that Bella is in danger. Before rushing to her aid, he places the kale mushroom near Sadiel. She looks at the mushroom curiously before eating it, tears of joy welling in her eyes. Cirrus's system alerts him that Sadiel, having developed feelings for the host, has unlocked new weapon options for him. Mysterious cards with question marks appear, and the system urges Cirrus to review the weapon rules. Cirrus, his mind focused on saving his teammates, commands the system to skip the explanation. "I don't have time for this," he mutters, his eyes already fixed on the battle ahead. The system complies, skipping the details and prompting him to choose a card. Cirrus selects one at random, and a sword with red energy swirling around it materializes in his hand. The system declares he's obtained the exploding garment divine sword. Fueled by rage, Cirrus charges at Nay, taunting her to face his newfound power. As he swings the sword, Nay effortlessly catches it with one hand, laughing. "You fell for it, didn't you?" she taunts. "Bella and Tyr were just bait, and you were the real target all along." With a smirk, Nay unleashes her light beam attack, mocking Cirrus for thinking he could escape at such close range. Cirrus shouts defiantly, "I never said I was going to dodge!" With a roar, he swings his sword with all his might, but the blade merely scratches Nay's hand. She laughs, unimpressed. "Is that all? Even with all your strength, you've only grazed me. This is the difference between monsters and humans." But in the heat of the moment, Cirrus notices something unexpected. Nay's dress suddenly tears from above, leaving her exposed. Shocked, she looks down and asks in embarrassment, "Where did my dress go?" Both Bella and Tyr avert their eyes, equally stunned by the sight. Cirrus stands tense, realizing just how powerful Nay truly is. The system, ever helpful, provides an explanation. The exploding garment divine sword causes the clothes of enemies to explode upon contact. Once they're naked, it triggers the ultimate move, the divine sword descent. Nay's face twists with fury at what she considers a despicable tactic. Cirrus lunged at Nay again, his sword poised for a decisive strike, but she dodged effortlessly, leaving him stunned. He had believed his previous attack had hit her palm, causing her clothes to tear open. All he needed was one more strike to strip her completely, remove her face mask, and trigger his ultimate move. Confident in his approach, Cirrus charged at Nay, preparing to unleash his swift body slash. The system, however, issued a warning. Only 6 uses of swift body slash remained, with a 10-second cooldown. The skill could instantly target a fresh enemy, but Cirrus couldn't help but feel a twinge of disappointment. Despite the doubt, he refused to turn off the skill, pressing forward. As he neared Nay, he attacked once more, but she was quick, dodging his strike with ease. Frustration built in Cirrus as he realized his missed opportunity. Meanwhile, Nay couldn't help but wonder why he kept targeting her legs instead of her exposed upper body. Was he trying to strip her entirely? Cirrus pressed the attack again, but Nay retaliated with a powerful kick to his face. The impact sent him crashing to the ground, pain shooting through his skull as his nasal bone nearly shattered. Despite the intense agony, Cirrus pushed the pain aside, recalling the excruciating sensation of his body melting from the toxin breakout. The nasal injury paled in comparison. Fueled by rage, Cirrus got back to his feet, charging toward Nay. The seconds stretched like an eternity as the timer ticked down, and as it reached its final moment, Cirrus was ready. Nay tried to fire a laser beam at him, but Cirrus deftly dodged and used swift body slash, believing he'd landed the hit. But to his shock, he struck her tail instead as she soared into the air. Nay smirked, revealing the truth. She hadn't been running at all. She could have easily defeated him, but her fear of exposing herself had held her back. Cirrus, growing increasingly tense, saw Nay prepare another laser beam. He tried to dodge again, but realized his swift body slash was still on cooldown. Frustrated, he rushed forward and slashed at her with his sword. The clash between his blade and her beam created a massive explosion, leaving Tyr stunned. How is he blocking that with F-rank combat abilities? He muttered in disbelief. Cirrus, laughing despite the chaos, marveled at the sword's true power. He taunted Nay, boasting that he could counter her attacks and render them useless. Nay, however, wasn't deterred. She acknowledged it was difficult to kill him, but turned her attention to Bella, targeting the injured girl. Cirrus's heart sank as Nay explained that eliminating Bella would be easy and unleashed a beam toward her. Without thinking, Cirrus used swift body slash, aiming for Nay's finger. He succeeded in breaking her nail, but it was too late. Bella was in danger. Ceres rushed forward, desperate to protect her. Nay laughed, mocking him for trying to play the hero, warning that heroes always die by the villain's hand. She attacked with her other hand, catching Ceres off guard. Realizing time was running out, Ceres quickly used swift body slash on Bella, blocking Nay's strike. The impact shattered Bella's armor, leaving Ceres and Tyr stunned. Nay, shocked, saw that Ceres had dodged her attack yet again. As she prepared for another strike, something strange happened. The altar seemed to react, and Nay's attention shifted. In her distraction, she realized she had neglected to add firewood to keep the demon god's blood warm. If she didn't act quickly, all her efforts would be wasted, and she'd have to wait another century to try again. Meanwhile, Bella began acting strangely, a warmth spreading through her body as she felt an unfamiliar attraction to Ceres. The system noted that her agitation level had risen to 91%, indicating her growing feelings for him. Bella moved closer, her eyes softening as she gently cupped Ceres's face, as if about to kiss him. The tension in the air was palpable, and Ceres couldn't help but notice the shift in her demeanor. Ceres froze, stunned, as Bella nearly kissed him in the heat of battle. The moment, intense and unexpected, triggered a flashback. He recalled when Bella was just 8 years old, her bold, questioning gaze and her teasing remark, "Have you ever seen a gorgeous woman, Ceres? Ever wanted to kiss one?" In the present, Ceres quickly pulled away from Bella, a flustered look crossing his face. "I don't want to kiss you," he muttered awkwardly. Tyr, noticing Bella's flushed face and the sweat dripping down her body, frowned. He suspected Bella might be hallucinating or under some kind of poison. His concern deepened, but Ceres barely noticed, his focus narrowing on Nay. Meanwhile, Nay, absorbed in her ritual, continued to prepare the altar. The demon god's blood, crucial to her plan, was close to burning dry. She was determined to prevent another long wait, oblivious to the growing tension behind her. Ceres knew the stakes were high. If he didn't stop Nay soon, everything they'd fought for would be lost. He began to prepare his ultimate attack, the explosive garment, divine sword. But to make it work, he needed Bella's help. Desperate, he turned to her, his voice laced with urgency. "If we do something romantic, like kissing or cuddling, my power will increase," Ceres explained, his words out before he could take them back. Tyr, overhearing, shot Ceres a glare. "What do you think you're doing, trying to take advantage of her in the middle of a battle?" Tyr accused, fury in his eyes. "Bella, don't listen to him!" But Bella, to everyone's surprise, stood her ground. She looked Tyr in the eye and then turned to Ceres. "I trust him," she said firmly. "I trust Ceres, but I'm only helping to defeat the monster, not because of anything romantic." Ceres's mind whirled with memories of the past, when as a child, he had rejected Bella's affection, pushing her away in horror. The sting of that rejection resurfaced, making his heart heavy. Just then, Mark's voice echoed in his mind, and Ceres received an alert from his system. His level had increased by 1, with all his stats boosted by 5,000 points. Relief washed over him as he realized he didn't need to go through with the plan to gain power. "Forget it," Ceres muttered, brushing off Bella's offer. "I don't need your help." But Bella, with a touch of sadness in her eyes, insisted, "I want to help you." Ceres shook his head and turned away, not meeting her gaze. "No, you stay out of this." He sprinted toward Nay, feeling an ache in his chest as Bella stood there, her heart breaking. Tyr, still confused, watched Bella's retreating figure. "You like him, don't you?" he asked, a note of bitterness in his voice. "Is that why? Because he's stronger than me?" Bella shook her head, her voice steady. "No, it's not about that," she replied quietly. Boosted by his newfound strength, Ceres focused on taking down Nay. The time had come to strike, and he needed to make it count. He would target her head and legs simultaneously, using swift body slash to maximize the damage. Meanwhile, Nay, frustrated by the altar's growing heat, continued adding human bodies to fuel the flames, her power escalating. She mocked Ceres, telling him he should be proud to become the firewood for her sacrifice. Then, with a flick of her wrist, she unleashed a massive energy ball straight at him. Ceres braced for impact, struggling to block the attack. His magic points plummeted as he fought to hold on, and in a matter of seconds, he found himself with only 11 magic points left. Despite this, he managed to deflect the blast, barely, leaving him drained and powerless. Nay, sensing victory, sneered at Ceres, believing his magic reserves were spent. She prepared to strike the final blow. But just as he began to lose hope, Bella acted. Without a word, she moved to Ceres, cupping his face and pressing it to her chest. "I'm here," she whispered, her voice firm. "I'm here to help." Ceres, stunned, felt a rush of emotions flood him. His heart raced, and just as Tyr watched from a distance, devastated by the scene, Ceres's power surged. A notification from his system flashed before him, indicating an immense boost, 27,500 points to all stats. He began to glow with newfound energy, his strength returning tenfold. Nay, stunned, watched as the man she had underestimated now stood before her, radiating with power. Ceres seizes the moment, unleashing a fierce attack. Nye attempts to counter, dodging most strikes, but Ceres' swift slash tears off her mask and robe. Furious, Nye channels her power into a massive beam, while Ceres launches his attack. The room erupts in a colossal explosion, obliterating the ground. Bella and Tyr are caught in the blast. When the fog clears, Ceres believes Nye is defeated, lying unconscious. His system displays a 20-second cooldown for his divine sword descent. Ceres rushes toward the altar, shocked to find it still active. Nye's voice rings out, taunting him, claiming she'll never allow humans to touch the demon god's blood. Ceres sees 9 seconds left on the cooldown and shouts that he'll finish her off. But he prioritizes Bella's low health and decides to escape. Nye believes humans are foolish as Ceres flees. Ceres urgently commands the map to find the shortest route to the exit. As he navigates toward the hospital, monsters attack. Ceres swiftly prepares to fight, while Bella remains unconscious, lost in childhood memory. Bella recalls cruel laughter, mocking her appearance. When Ceres approaches, children warn him to stay away, but Ceres slaps one of the boys, shocking everyone. The scene shifts to the present, where Ceres quickly defeats a monster. In Bella's dream, the boy Ceres slapped cries. Ceres reassures Bella, promising to take responsibility for her. He vows to protect her, then returns to fighting monsters. Meanwhile, Nye realizes the altar needs more firewood to maintain the temperature. With no other option, she sacrifices herself, throwing herself onto the altar as firewood. On the other side, Ceres continues to battle monsters. After defeating a dragon monster, his divine sword disappears, and the system notifies him that the weapon will be unavailable for 12 hours. Ceres shrugs it off, relieved to be close to the exit. Ceres and his teammates emerge outside the dungeon, alive. Cyrus is shocked to hear that Ceres has returned with Bella and Tyr. Ceres appears serious, and Cyrus demands an explanation, drawing his sword. Ceres kicks Cyrus in the face, using him as a stepping stone to leap forward, stating he doesn't have time to deal with him. Cyrus collapses unconscious, and the others are stunned. Some shout angrily at Ceres for attacking the captain. Still, one member informs the group that they must hurry and get Cyrus to the hospital. In the guild hospital, ward boys rush in with Bella and Tyr on stretchers, shouting about an emergency. Ceres breathes a sigh of relief, ensuring they're safely delivered before deciding to return to the dungeon. He's one step away from obtaining the demon god's blood to cure the poison. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, a red substance rises from the altar, gradually forming into a humanoid figure. Sadiel observes, wondering what kind of entity Boss Nay has summoned by sacrificing herself. The red substance takes the shape of a dress, and a hand emerges. The atmosphere grows intense, and Sadiel feels a chilling sensation, as if countless needles are stabbing into her bones. A humanoid monster emerges from the substance, remarking that the scene feels familiar, as though it were her domain. Eighth, with a boyish body and long hair, stands there. Sadiel, tense from the oppressive energy, tries to run. Eighth senses her presence and pushes a finger against the wall, causing it to collapse. The explosion startles the monsters above, wondering if Boss Nay had caused it. But they quickly dismiss the idea, realizing it requires more power than Nay possesses. Eighth speaks, declaring that Nay is dead and needs a servant. The monsters grow tense and debate whether to escape or stay, and that they are willing to follow someone stronger than Nay. The others clamor to serve, but Eighth shouts that they are all too ugly and destroys them. Eighth declares that she doesn't want ugly minions, then walks towards Sadiel, complimenting her appearance. She instructs Sadiel to look up and open her mouth. With tears in her eyes, Sadiel obeys, and Azathoth's blood pours into her mouth. As Sadiel drinks, she feels a sudden change, sensing her body healing itself. Eighth explains that her blood can repair damage, fortify the immune system, and enhance strength. She then tells Sadiel it is getting dark and advises her to find a clean room while she waits. Sadiel, unsure of what to say, nods in agreement. Meanwhile, at the guild's headquarters, Darren is furious and holds Cyrus's head, demanding to know what Cyrus has said about the mission's failure. Cyrus apologizes and explains that if he loses his position as captain, Darren will have to take over and audit the investigation team's remaining assets. Darren shoves Cyrus aside and shouts for him to stay quiet, stating that he already knows. Darren then asks if someone in Cyrus's team has gone against orders, and Cyrus confirms it is Cyrus. Darren reviews the documents and sees that Cyrus is an F-rank hero. He orders that all responsibility for the failure be placed on Cyrus and that he be sentenced to death for desertion. In the dungeon, Cyrus is confused by the collapsed state and rushes to the altar to check if his antidote remains intact. He is shocked to find it empty. Meanwhile, Sadiel sits quietly waiting for Eighth. Suddenly, Eighth places her hands on Sadiel's shoulders. Sadiel asks her not to do it, but surprisingly, Azathoth hugs her from behind. Sadiel, initially thinking Eighth is a boy, is confused as she feels something soft against her back. Eighth whispers in Sadiel's ear, causing her to feel a surge of seduction. Embarrassed, Sadiel pulls away from the hug, but turns back to see Eighth has transformed into a proper girl. Sadiel, stunned, asks how this is possible. Eighth explains that she loses her strength at night and reverts to her true form, a girl. She adds that Sadiel must protect her during the night and eliminate anyone with ill intentions. She warns Sadiel not to harm her or attempt to escape, as consuming her blood during the day allows Eighth to resonate with Sadiel's blood. On the other hand, Cyrus, now tense, searches the dungeon for the demon god's blood, but finds nothing. Holding on to hope, he asks the system to open the map to scout the entire dungeon thoroughly. Eighth's eyes darken as she gazes at Sadiel, her voice quiet but filled with an undeniable weight. "I don't want things to end like this," she says softly, "but my heart is sealed within the Heroes Guild, preventing me from being in my complete form. So at night, I turn into a weak human, unable to access my true power." Sadiel absorbs the information in silence, still struggling to understand the full picture of what's happening. Suddenly, the sound of approaching footsteps snaps her back to the present. Her instincts take over, and she quickly moves to investigate. But Eighth, her presence sharp and commanding, stops Sadiel with a firm hold on her arm. "Stay within a 5-kilometer radius," Eighth warns, her voice cold. Meanwhile, Cyrus's system blinks with a critical notification. The blood of the demon god is located in the underground dungeon. His heart races with renewed determination. Before he can reach the door, Sadiel, sensing his arrival, positions herself just beside it. With the flick of a muscle, she kicks the door, ready to strike. But Cyrus is too fast. He dodges the attack with ease, leaving Sadiel stunned. She stands frozen for a moment. Eighth, however, starts feeling something strange. Her body twitches unexpectedly as though responding to some unseen force. Sadiel doesn't waste time, her voice cutting through the tension. "Why are you back? Nay is dead. Leave the dungeon before daylight." Ceres, stunned at the sight of Sadiel's regained strength, stares at her for a moment. He wasn't expecting this fight. "Did you enjoy the mushroom-flavored treat I gave you earlier?" he asks with a teasing grin. Sadiel's face flushes with embarrassment. "It wasn't tasty at all," she mumbles, avoiding his gaze. Cyrus smirks at her reaction, noticing the red tint in her cheeks. He feels a wave of satisfaction. "Look at you," he comments with a light chuckle. Sadiel, clearly flustered, kicks at him again, annoyed. "You're talking nonsense." As Cyrus reaches the door, his senses tingle, and he realizes that the blood of the demon god is just beyond it. He reaches for the door handle, but before he can open it, Eighth slides the door open herself. In the ensuing moment, Cyrus accidentally places his hand on her chest. Eighth reacts instantly, grabbing his hand with fierce anger and squeezing it tightly. A sudden, brilliant spark erupts from where their hands meet, leaving both of them in stunned silence. The shock isn't just physical, Eighth's eyes widen as she stares at the glowing spot. Cirrus's system announces the discovery. The human girl is the blood of the demon god. Cirrus, determined and focused, wastes no time. He grabs Eighth's hand, drawing a small cut on her palm before lifting it to his lips. He drinks her blood, feeling the potent power surge into him. But as he pulls away, the system's notification hits him with a grim update. Poison not cured. Remaining lifespan, 101 days. Eighth, still reeling from the encounter, stares at Cirrus in disbelief. How is it possible? My heart was absorbed by you, a filthy human, she whispers, horrified by the implications of what just occurred. My essence is now stored in your body. Despite her shock, Cirrus knows his mission isn't over. He's come too far. With determination, he decides to take Eighth with him, thinking ahead to his next move. As they start to move, a rumbling shakes the ground. From deep below, something stirs. A monstrous presence emerges. The creature, a massive boss-level monster named Ghana, emerges from the underground, exuding power and hunger. Ghana roars joyfully. I've sensed your presence from thousands of miles away, Eighth. Can I devour you now? You'll belong to me afterward. Cirrus doesn't hesitate. He swiftly scoops Eighth up in his arms and dashes toward a hole in the wall. Without looking back, he leaps through the opening, taking Eighth outside to safety. The scene shifts to the Heroes Guild. Where have you brought me? She asks, her voice laced with unease. This is the Heroes Guild in Zone Z, Cirrus replies, his tone resolute. It's my home. Eighth's expression softens, and a small, pleased smile flickers across her face. The prospect of being within the Heroes Guild's walls brings her a sense of hope. She stands up, her voice quiet but urgent. This makes things much easier. I have to tell you something, Cirrus. She steps closer, her face adopting a helpless expression as she gently cups his face in her hands. I've been cursed by a terrifying monster, she admits, her voice barely a whisper. If I don't find a human to mate with soon, I'll die. Cirrus listens to her words, but his expression doesn't change. I am a noble, upright hero, he responds firmly. I never exploit someone's vulnerability. Cirrus's eyes widened as Azathoth jumped over him, her voice laced with desperation. Save me, Cirrus! I'm in agony! Cirrus's instincts screamed at him to help, but his inner voice cautioned him not to exploit her vulnerability. As Eighth leaned in for a kiss, Cirrus's mind raced. He thought Eighth was willing to sacrifice herself to save him, but in reality, she planned to extract his essence, regain her power, and destroy everyone. Cirrus's eyes locked onto something between Eighth's legs, and his face contorted in shock. Is that a tail? He asked, his voice trembling. Eighth's true form was revealed, and Cirrus stumbled backward, his mind reeling. Why do you have a sword between your legs? He demanded. Eighth's seductive smile sent shivers down Cirrus's spine. I agreed to save you, Eighth whispered. As daybreak approached, Eighth's body began to shift, revealing a shocking dual personality, male by day, female by night. Yug transformed, and Eighth's eyes narrowed. What's happening to my pet? She growled. Yug's monster form emerged, and she declared, I'm hungry! Cirrus seized the opportunity, telling Eighth that Yug needed his help more urgently. Eighth's face twisted in uncertainty. Cirrus fled to the kitchen, his mind racing. If he didn't save Eighth, she'd die, and he'd be defenseless. But did he really need to mate with her? Eighth crept up behind Cirrus. Eighth's eyes flashed with anger, and she contemplated forcing Cirrus's hand. Cirrus snatched the food off the plate and sprinted outside to help Yug. Eighth's fury erupted, her human form too weak to overpower Cirrus. Cirrus's eyes widened as he spotted Yug guzzling toilet cleaner. Will she be okay? He wondered. Yug devoured the food, and Eighth insisted it was her turn. Cirrus pleaded with her to calm down, but she became wild, shouting, I won't hear your excuses! Cirrus's system alerted him to the impending time limit for returning weapons. Eighth tore off Cirrus's clothes, leaving him stunned. Cirrus's system alerted him to complete the mission, run through the streets, waving to 33 people. Cirrus's face contorted in rage. I'll never do it, he bellowed. A door materialized behind Cirrus, and he spun around to face a horde of boy dummies, beckoning him to play. Cirrus's eyes darted wildly, thinking this fate worse than running naked through the streets. The tiny cloth wouldn't cover him properly. Cirrus's frustration boiled over, and he burst into tears. Without thinking, he sprinted toward the door, yelling at Yug to care for Eighth. Yug watched, amazed, wondering if this was how humans ventured out. Eighth's face fell, realizing she'd have to wait until morning. Cirrus covered his face with the cloth and dashed toward the barbecue plaza. To make matters worse, the monster Ghana sensed his presence and arrived at the plaza, eager for a fight. Ceres races through the bustling city, waving his hands to complete the task of greeting 33 people. A girl spots him and screams that a pervert is running around, sparking chaos. Dodging pursuers with only 7.5 seconds left. He manages to finish just in time, but the chase isn't over. Back at the house, Sadiel appears at the window, warning Eighth and Yug about the dangers in the Brave Heroes Guild city. Eighth, however, orders Sadiel to find Cirrus and says she'll track him once the sun rises. Sadiel nods and heads out, pondering what will happen to Cirrus once Eighth reclaims her essence. Suddenly, Sadiel hears shouting. Looking down, he sees Cirrus running naked, pursued by a growing crowd. Despite the chaos, Cirrus waves at people, nearing the end of his task when a giant spider monster attacks the mob. The crowd scatters, and people call for reinforcements. Cirrus, determined, decides to confront the creature but finds his system locked, resetting his abilities to rank F. A citywide alarm warns of the monster, and Sam, a boy holding a spider by its leg, loses his grip when Cirrus greets him mid-chase. Furious, Sam questions Cirrus's sanity. Just as the spider lunges, A-rank hero Kijak arrives and swiftly kills the creature, saving Sam. Jack, unfazed, remarks that small spiders shouldn't be a problem for C-rank heroes. Charlton, the vice president of the Heroes Guild, praises Kijak, but urges them to escort him back for safety. Then, a menacing presence fills the air. Ghana, sensing Cirrus's essence, appears. Tension rises, and Kijak orders the heroes to protect Charlton. Kijak charges at Ghana, but she easily dodges and touches his hand. Instantly, Kijak's hand melts, and his body burns from her poison. He screams, warning others to stay back. Ghana laughs, finding humans fragile and amusing in their pain. Cirrus, nearly done with his mission, watches another hero fall victim to Ghana's poison. She relishes the hero's screams before shifting her attention to Charlton, who calls for help. Ceres arrives, demanding Ghana leave Charlton alone. When Charlton looks toward him, Cirrus completes his mission, and his clothes reappear. He activates the system, and a card appears. Cirrus selects it, unlocking a new weapon, the Silent Divine Finger. This powerful artifact lets him touch objects and transform them into enemies, feeling their sensation. Ghana eyes Ceres, recognizing him as the human connected to her lord, Eighth. She demands to know where Eighth is, but Cirrus calmly replies that he will hand Eighth over. Ghana, determined to eliminate Cirrus first, charges at him. Cirrus dodges with ease, touching the ground as he moves. When his fingers brush the earth, Ghana feels an odd, almost intimate sensation as though someone is touching her body. Her breath catches, and before she can process it, she screams in pain. The silent force activates, and the shockwave of pain stuns Ghana. The invisible force lingers, and Ghana is momentarily paralyzed. Cirrus stands, his weapon now fully activated, ready for whatever comes next. Ghana's eyes blaze with fury as she confronts Cirrus. "My body and mind belong to Lord Eighth alone," she hisses. "Anyone who touches me, aside from Eighth, will face death." With a swift motion, she expels toxins into her hand, her gaze locked on Cirrus. "I'll present your charred corpse as an apology to Lord Eighth." Ceres tenses, anticipating her attack. Ghana launches herself at him, declaring, "You'll die in pain for daring to touch me." Cirrus dodges her initial strike, but Ghana pursues him relentlessly, attempting to grab him from the ground. In a swift move, Cirrus places his hand on the earth and rubs it. Ghana's scream echoes through the air, her armpit aflame with intense sensation. The scream reaches 43%, triggering a powerful force that leaves her reeling. Cirrus wonders if the sensation is akin to brushing against her armpit. Ghana's face contorts in pain, her eyes wide with shock. "This sensation, it's far stronger than before," she gasps. Despite her vow to hold back, she feels an unexpected joy as Cirrus triggers the sensation, reminiscent of Lord Eighth's touch. Clutching the bell Eighth bestowed upon her, Ghana apologizes, her voice laced with confusion. "What's happening to me?" she whispers. Once calm, Ghana smiles, her eyes gleaming with determination. "Will Eighth forgive me?" she wonders aloud. Cirrus watches in shock as Ghana hits herself, interpreting it as a sign of mental instability. Ghana's gaze snaps to Cirrus, her expression cold. "Your moves are strange," she declared. "But now, I'll get serious." With a fluid motion, she draws her sword, its blade glinting in the light. Cirrus observes her every move, his mind racing. The location where she hides her weapon is even stranger, he thinks. He calculates that her next attack will target his back. Anticipating this, Cirrus takes off in a sprint, Ghana hot on his heels. "Why are you running now?" Ghana shouts, leaping toward him to strike. Cirrus dodges her attack, his agility proving superior. "My agility is higher," he shouts. "I won't be caught off guard." Ghana acknowledges his skill, then throws a spider web at Cirrus, ensnaring him. As Ghana taunts him, Cirrus struggles to break free. Just as she approaches for the kill, Cirrus manages to touch the ground, his fingers brushing against Ghana's inner thigh. Ghana's eyes widen, her body tense with intrigue. Determined not to scream, Ghana covers her mouth, resolute in not making a sound. Cirrus tries to tickle her more, but she resists, her scream percentage remaining at 1%. Ghana realizes that as long as she doesn't scream, she won't be vulnerable to Cirrus's attacks. As she turns to face him, Ghana is surprised to see Cirrus has escaped the web and slipped away. But Cirrus is now behind her, his voice casual. "I never said I was going to slip away." Ghana smiled, thinking Cirrus's decision not to flee is foolish. With a swift motion, Ghana places something in her mouth, revealing a spider web covering her lips. "I figured out all your moves," she declares. "Your chance to escape was your only one. Now I'll dominate you." Cirrus asks, his voice tinged with curiosity. "Is the spot I touched on the inner part of your thigh?" Ghana's face burns with embarrassment, her frustration palpable. She thinks Cirrus is a disgusting human for paying such close attention to her body. Cirrus senses her discomfort, explaining, "After trapping you, I arranged everything based on the proportions of your body." With a fierce determination, Cirrus prepares to launch a fierce attack, aiming to find the sensitive spots that will drive Ghana crazy. Ghana stands firm, convinced that Cirrus's every move has been anticipated. She refuses to scream, no matter where he targets. Cirrus rubs his hands against the walls, expecting some reaction, but Ghana remains silent. The sensation coursing through her is overwhelming, yet she keeps her composure, her mind anchored firmly on Lord Eighth. The pleasure, though intense, pales in comparison to what Eighth gives her. Cirrus, puzzled by her lack of reaction, rubs his hands together once more, inviting her to enjoy it. Ghana feels the sensation rush into her mind, tempting her to give in, but she fights it. Meanwhile, Charlton watches from a distance, intrigued by the strange wriggling of the female monster. He wonders what trick Cirrus is using to provoke such responses. The sensation intensifies, and Ghana grows tense. The images of Lord Eighth blur before her eyes. She knows she must suppress these feelings. She belongs to Lord Azathoth, and she cannot let herself be swayed. Cirrus, seeing that Ghana hasn't screamed yet, realizes the excitement hasn't reached its peak. Determined to put an end to the fight, Ghana channels all the toxins within her body into her weapon and rushes at Cirrus. She believes this will be the strike. That ends it, but Cirrus moves closer to the wall, rubbing his hands together once more. Ghana trembles, trying to endure the sensation, but it overwhelms her. She knows she must defeat him quickly or risk losing Lord Azathoth from her heart. She throws her sword, aiming to land a decisive blow, but Cirrus dodges effortlessly. Ghana, expecting this, releases the toxins from her sword, certain that Cirrus can't escape in such a confined space. However, when the toxins clear, she is stunned to find Cirrus unharmed. With a taunting smirk, he declares he won't fall for the same trick twice. Before she can react, Cirrus leaps onto the rooftop above. Ghana watches, disbelief flooding her as Cirrus jumps from above, rubbing his hands on the walls again. The sensation surges through her, stronger than before, and it hits her harder this time. She tries to hold on, but the pressure is relentless. The sensation continues longer than she expected, pushing her to the edge. She realizes her limit has been reached. Desperate, she apologizes to Lord Eighth, unable to resist any longer. With all her strength, she screams. The explosion of her scream shatters the locket Eighth had given her, sending a blast that tears through the air. The force depletes her magic and her body shrinks. transforming into a tiny spider. Ceres' system announces her defeat and retrieves her weapon. Ceres approaches her, lifting the small form of Ghana in his hand. His system indicates her favorability toward him has reached 100%, and with it, he unlocks a new passive ability, Conquest, which allows him to infuse powerful toxins into his weapons. Curious, Ceres wonders if he can also use toxins from his own body. As he contemplates this, a sudden chill runs down his spine. He turns to see Lord Eighth standing behind him, a presence that shocks him to the core. Sadiel drips her blood onto the ground, summoning Eighth. The moment he disappears, Yug is left stunned, watching the strange event unfold in disbelief. Eighth reappears in his human form, demanding to know where Ceres is. Sadiel, looking apologetic, admits that she has lost track of him. Eighth's shock is palpable as he explains that the body he now inhabits was once her heart, and if he doesn't retrieve it soon, he will become powerless. Suddenly, Lord Azathoth senses a disturbance in the city, detecting the familiar power of the system. Without hesitation, he soars toward the source, leaving a tense Sadiel behind, watching his departure. Meanwhile, Ceres discovers a new skill, placement, allowing him to teleport conquered monsters back to their homes. He speaks the word, and Ghana vanishes from his hand, teleported to Yug's room. Yug is startled when something hits her head, and she's shocked to find a spider. Back with Ceres, Azathoth appears, grabbing him suddenly. Before Ceres can react, Eighth locks his head in place, his gaze cold and full of disappointment. "You promised to save me," Eighth accuses, "but you broke your word." Ceres, now understanding the true nature of his curse, realizes Eighth is the one behind it all. Eighth acknowledges the truth, and Ceres, defiant, asks what Eighth wants from him now. Eighth demands that Ceres fulfill his promise, but Ceres refuses, stating that he has no interest in men. In response, Eighth changes his form, transforming into a girl wearing a cat-themed outfit. He even adds a teasing meow to the air, hoping to provoke Ceres. But Ceres, disgusted, refuses again, making it clear that he doesn't like men. Eighth smirks and, with swift movements, grabs Ceres's fist when he attempts to punch him. Without warning, Eighth licks Ceres's finger, causing him to stiffen in shock. "Are you serious?" Ceres asks, his voice strained. Eighth, savoring the taste, simply smiles in response. With a flicker of power, Eighth rises into the air. He dares Ceres to run, knowing full well that it will lead to the same outcome. Eighth then asks Ceres if he wants to try locking him down and boosting his speed. Ceres, unwilling to use the system against men, refuses, citing his moral boundaries. Eighth lifts Ceres's body and leaps over him, his voice dripping with insinuation. He declares that the blood in Ceres's veins is his antidote. Eighth stands bewildered, unable to understand why his power didn't work. Ceres's system reveals that it has refused to return, rendering Eighth's attack powerless. Ceres will trigger Azathoth's Spear of Oblivion, which will absorb Eighth and detoxify him. Ceres's life countdown drops to 50 days. Eighth is stunned, his disbelief palpable. But Ceres realizes he can lock onto Eighth as long as he stays within 10 meters. Before Ceres can act, Eighth envelops the area in a thick red smoke, blinding him. Azathoth, sensing the shift, cuts his hand, and Sadiel, watching, becomes tense. Within moments, Eighth teleports to her, dripping with sweat and clearly relieved to have escaped. He's enraged that the system rejected him, feeling betrayed. Sadiel, confused, asks if Eighth is injured. Eighth explains that if he's harmed, it will affect her as well, since their bodies are resonating with each other. Sadiel, concerned, asks if Eighth managed to deal with Ceres. Eighth answers no, his voice cold. His attacks, he admits, are useless against Ceres. Eighth explains that once Ceres dies, the system will be forced to choose him as the next host. With a dark smile, he orders Sadiel to find Ceres again, confident that pleasure will be the key to his ultimate victory. Eighth turns to Sadiel, his eyes glinting with expectation. "Have you learned the transformation magic yet?" he asks. She nods, confirming she's ready. He gestures for her to begin, and as she casts the spell, he explains, "At night I lose all my magic. You'll need to maintain my transformation." The moment the magic settles, Azathoth reverts to his female form, and Eighth grins, pleased. "Perfect. Now Ceres won't recognize me. Humans love heroes saving beauties, so let him play the part before I make my move." Meanwhile, Ceres faces a ticking clock. He has only 50 days left to live unless he finds Eighth and cures himself. But time is running out, and every moment feels like a battle against the poison inside him. Suddenly, pain shoots through Ceres's body. A searing sensation flares in his little toe as the poison spreads, and he collapses, screaming in agony. His vision fades as he succumbs to the pain. When Ceres regains consciousness, he finds himself in a hospital bed. A ward boy greets him, explaining that Charlton, The guild's vice president brought him in. Ceres is taken aback. Moments later, Charlton enters, asking if Ceres remembers saving him from the giant spider. Ceres nods, recalling the battle, and then asks how long he's been unconscious. 13 hours, Charlton replies. Sorry for my impatience, Charlton says. I hope I haven't disturbed you. Ceres reassures him, still processing the time that passed. Is there something you need from me? Ceres asks, sensing Charlton has something on his mind. Charlton leans in, his voice low but filled with admiration. I saw your battle with that spider. The magic you wield, it's exceptional. As men grow older, abilities fade. But you, Ceres, you have something extraordinary. I'd like to learn your magic. Ceres's mind races. Could this be the way to leverage the guild's resources to find Eighth? He nods slowly. I'll teach you, but understand, the magic is difficult. Charlton's eyes burn with determination. No matter the cost, I'll learn it. Teach me, and I'll give everything I have. Then, in a surprising move, Charlton bows to Ceres, asking to be his disciple. Ceres is taken aback, the vice president of the guild bowing to him, but he agrees, with one condition. This must remain a secret. You're still the vice president, after all. Just as the words leave his mouth, Charlton's secretary, Daisy, enters with a solemn expression. There's a warrant for Ceres's arrest, she announces, holding a document in her hand. He's been convicted of desertion and sentenced to death for disobeying orders during the Cyrus Squad's mission. Ceres is stunned. What? I didn't desert anyone. I stayed to take care of the dungeon boss. Daisy explains that Ceres's squad failed the mission after he supposedly fled. She adds that an S-rank monster was defeated by Ceres's squad, something that seems impossible. Ceres insists that Daisy verify his side of the story. She leaves to confirm, but insists on detaining Ceres during the investigation. Charlton, however, steps in. No need for detention. I trust Ceres. I'll supervise him. Daisy hesitates but leaves, reminding Charlton about the guild's banquet that evening. Charlton turns to Ceres. I'll pick you up later tonight for the banquet. Rest up. Ceres nods, feeling a sense of relief wash over him as Charlton and Daisy depart. With a moment to himself, Ceres decides to check Eighth's location. His heart races as he opens the system panel, only to find Eighth hasn't left the city. In fact, he's closer than ever. Eighth is at his home. He rushes back, fear and urgency pushing him forward. When he bursts through the door, he finds the house eerily empty. Except for God. His stomach drops as he realizes Yug is gone. Eighth has taken her. Meanwhile, Eighth smiles as he answers Yug's confused question. Where are we? He gestures around the room. Welcome to the auction venue, where monsters and humans are for sale. Ceres races toward Azathoth's signal, the tension mounting as he realizes. It's been half an hour with no movement. He's close. But suddenly the marker vanishes. He knows then that tracking Eighth will be impossible at night. As he presses on, a figure emerges from the shadows. Arque, a member of the Star Cavalry, warns Ceres that intruders, be they heroes or monsters, are dealt with ruthlessly in their territory. Ceres wonders if these are the same bandits known for kidnapping, realizing they might use female monsters as bait to lure him out. RQA adds that other heroes could be nearby, planning to capture him. Ceres considers the possibility that the female monsters could be Yug and Quickly. Asks about any perverted male monsters in the area. Just then, Ceres's system pings with a reminder. The weapon return mission starts. In 2 minutes, a knot tightens in his stomach. Entering the mission will reset his stats to F rank, which means he must end this confrontation quickly. Meanwhile, Yug struggles against magical handcuffs, her strength fading from the lack of male essence. Eighth, cool and calculating, asks if Yug, being a monster, really wants to return to the dungeon. Yug, a ling-lang lizard, explains that she thrives on male essence, preferring human dens to monster caves. The tension in the room suddenly breaks with an explosion. Ceres is thrown inside, relieved that he has completed the mission in time. He tells RQA they wouldn't have been beaten if they'd just handed him the key sooner. Ceres's system now prompts him to slap someone's butt 10 times. Tension rises as he approaches the defeated person and asks if they can still scream. But the boy has already fainted. Ceres curses under his breath. He's hit too hard. Eighth, watching from a distance, urges Ceres to save them, but Ceres hesitates. Without the system's power, the area is too dangerous. He needs to finish his mission first. Determined, Ceres unlocks Yug's handcuffs and slaps her on the butt, causing her to scream. Yug, confused, asks what he's doing. Ceres explains it's the only way to ensure their safe escape. Eighth, amused, smiles. She's starting to see that Ceres isn't as innocent as he appears. Then, in her female form, Eighth steps forward and asks Cirrus to unlock her cuffs, offering herself to him in exchange for freedom. Ceres hesitates but ultimately unlocks her handcuffs. Eighth immediately throws herself into his arms, tears streaming down her face. She explains she was kidnapped, threatened with being sold to goblins, and now that he's saved her, she will belong to him. Ceres, uneasy but still focused on the mission, slaps her. This time, she doesn't scream. Confused, he asks why she didn't react, and Eighth provocatively asks him to try again. Before Ceres can refuse, his system freezes him for 5 minutes, a penalty for not completing the mission properly. Frozen and vulnerable, Ceres fights to stay conscious as Yug crawls toward him, begging for his essence to survive. Just as Eighth moves to slap Yug, the lizard monster stops her with her tail, claiming Ceres as her master. Eighth grows furious, but it's clear she's in no position to confront Yug. Her priority now is reclaiming the system, not fighting over Ceres. Eighth, frustrated but determined, suggests a 3-way romance, inching closer to Ceres. Ceres wonders if Eighth is truly being forced into this situation or if she's genuinely interested in him. Meanwhile, Sadiel, watching from above, feels the sensations Eighth is stirring within her own body. As Eighth directs Ceres to apply pressure on her hand, Sadiel feels the same intense pleasure, becoming increasingly captivated. Then, Eighth moves to touch Ceres in a more intimate area, and Ceres tenses, but to his horror, Sadiel feels it too. Ceres, realizing what's happening, understands that he's been exposed to Eighth's technique. Eighth, now aware of the situation, calls out to Sadiel for help. Sensing danger, Yug shrinks into her smaller form and scurries toward Ceres, seeking his protection. Sadiel agrees to help Eighth, and as she prepares to act, Ceres is left stunned. He realizes that Eighth has been using her transformation into a girl to get close to him. As Ceres struggles to recover from the freeze, he sees that Eighth is already far ahead. With his system still offline, Ceres knows he can't chase her down yet. But once he regains control, he's determined to pursue Eighth. Ceres stands at the Z security gate, confused as to why Daisy, Cyrus, and the team are waiting for him. Cyrus steps forward, presenting a warrant for Ceres's arrest on charges of desertion. Daisy steps in, calmly explaining that she's Vice President Charlton's secretary. She reveals their investigation into the dungeon found it empty, contradicting the desertion claims. The revocation process has already started, so Ceres cannot be arrested. She also mentions that Ceres is scheduled for the guild's appreciation banquet. Furious, Cyrus slaps Daisy, accusing her of lying. He insists only captains of rank A and above can attend the banquet and demands she leave, threatening to throw her into the interrogation room with Ceres. Ceres tells Daisy to get Charlton's authorization and bring the revocation notice. She promises to return in 10 minutes, and Ceres vows to make Cyrus apologize severely. In the interrogation room, Cyrus demands to know how Ceres injured his right hand. Ceres stays silent while Cyrus recounts leading his team against Ney, only to be attacked from behind by Ceres, allowing Ney to kill most of his team. Cyrus claims he sacrificed his right hand to save the others and asks if a coward like Ceres deserves to live. Ceres responds coldly, "Anyone who runs from the enemy deserves to die like an animal." Cyrus orders a hammer brought in, but Ceres, hoping Daisy will return soon, has no access to his system and must endure. Suddenly, Yug speaks, explaining she absorbed some of Ceres's blood essence, restoring her magic enough to withstand torture. She makes a deal. Ceres will repay her later. As Cyrus raises the hammer, a teammate interrupts, announcing that Daisy has arrived with the revocation notice. The room goes silent, and Cyrus is shocked to learn an F-rank hero like Ceres has such high connections. One teammate suggests releasing Ceres, but Cyrus refuses, insisting they hold the notice. Half an hour later, with no notice in hand, Cyrus denies knowing anything. Ceres, enraged, insists he must pay the price. Outside, Daisy argues with the guard. Then Charlton storms in, showing the revocation notice and demanding Ceres's immediate release. Stunned, Cyrus drops the hammer and agrees to release him. Charlton accuses Cyrus of abusing his power and warns that an investigation could cost him his captaincy. Cyrus, cornered, claims he didn't receive the notice, offering his teammates as witnesses but none speak up. Ceres offers to testify that Cyrus didn't see the notice and won't pursue the matter further. Ceres demands Cyrus and his team bow and apologize to Daisy. Moments later, the Crusade squad kneels in front of her, confusion and embarrassment on their faces. Ceres taps their backsides with a stick, causing them to yelp in pain. Daisy blushes, a smile tugging at her lips as she watches. The squad apologizes, promising not to disrespect her again. With the mission complete, Ceres tells Cyrus the matter with Daisy is settled. Cyrus, tense, asks what Ceres means. Ceres grabs his hand, demanding they settle things now. Cyrus asks if Ceres isn't letting the arrest go, but Ceres shakes his head. It's about the hammer hitting his hand. Ceres tightens his grip until Cyrus howls in pain, then breaks his left hand, leaving Cyrus writhing. His teammates stare, unsure of what to do. Charlton, witnessing everything, informs Ceres that Daisy will escort him to the banquet. Ceres asks what the Holy See is, and Charlton explains it's a church dedicated to purging evil thoughts and toxins with powerful purification magic. Ceres, still processing everything, realizes his life is about to get much more complicated. The scene shifts to the Grand Appreciation Banquet Hall, where Saintess Mia of the Holy See arrives with Charlton. Two boys in the crowd eye Mia's revealing dress and whisper to each other, questioning whether it's appropriate for a saintess to dress so provocatively. But before they can continue, Mia halts, locking eyes with them. The boys freeze, realizing they've been caught. Mia's voice is calm but firm as she addresses them. Our doctrine is to eliminate all evil thoughts from the world, she explains. To do so, we must fully understand them, which is why we wear what we do. She gives them a sharp look. Do not look at me with your filthy eyes. Furious, Charlton orders the guards, slap them 10 times. The boys quickly apologize, but Mia raises a hand to stop the punishment. If you punish these two, then everyone in this hall would need to be punished, except for you, Charlton. Stunned, Charlton asks, "What makes me different?" Mia's gaze softens slightly. While your mind may be troubled, your body doesn't react as strongly as theirs. You don't show the same surge of evil thoughts. Charlton's face reddens in embarrassment. I have self-control, he insists. The crowd murmurs and whispers spread that perhaps the vice president is impotent, unable to react to temptation. Charlton's discomfort is palpable. Outside the hall, Daisy and Ceres arrive. Daisy gestures for Ceres to follow, saying, "This is the venue we need." Ceres, intrigued, asks, "Is the Holy See's purification magic really as powerful as they say?" Daisy nods seriously. "It's unique. It can heal anything, from lost limbs to severe poisoning. But they only help those without evil thoughts." Ceres, now thinking about the poison in his body, decides he must speak to them soon. Inside the hall, Ceres notices the large crowd gathered and asks Daisy what's going on. Charlton explains that the Saintess is testing their eligibility to collaborate with the Holy See. Any guild that passes the test will gain significant strength. Mia gestures toward a glowing gemstone. "This is the sacred evil heart," she announces. It reveals the level of evil thoughts in a person's heart. Only those with pure hearts can collaborate with us. No one from other guilds has ever passed. Logan, captain of Team 7, steps forward first, confident in his purity. He enters the test, but inside, he's distracted by a cat woman, his weakness. As she approaches him, he nervously compliments her on her magnificent features and attempts to pet her. The Catwoman recoils, disgusted, and throws him out of the tent. The gemstone lights up, showing 88% evil thoughts. Mia's expression hardens as she realizes Logan is far from pure. Owen, captain of Team 6, steps up next, determined he can handle the test. He enters the tent, but moments later he's also thrown out, and the gemstone shows 92% evil thoughts. One by one, other captains and heroes try, but each shows more than 80% evil thoughts. Mia's frustration grows as no one has passed. Finally, Ceres steps forward, his calm demeanor in sharp contrast to the tension in the room. "It's my turn," he says, steady and unshaken. Mia watches closely as Ceres enters the tent. Inside, the same Catwoman approaches him and asks what he wants. But Ceres, ever vigilant, calmly pushes her back. "I don't appreciate women approaching me like this." The Catwoman is taken aback. "You're the first man to reject me," she says, surprised. Outside the tent, the gemstone glows, and for the first time that day, it shows 0%. Mia's eyes widen in astonishment. This is the first time anyone has achieved such purity. Sirius remains calm, still unsure of what's happening, and asks his system to confirm his purity. The system's response is clear. Sirius's system prompts him to lock on to the enemy and use Azathoth's Spear of Oblivion. With only one chance, Sirius feels tense, knowing that failure will lead to a doomed confrontation with Ith. Meanwhile, the Catwoman is perplexed. For the first time, she's been rejected by a man, and he's even pushed her away. She notices Sirius staring intently, yet there's no trace of evil thoughts, and he seems somewhat hostile. Frustrated, she bites her finger, determined to make Sirius's heart race. Sirius seeks an opportunity to check for malicious traits. The Catwoman jumps towards him, shaking her chest in a seductive attempt. "Don't look at me with such hostility," she says. "A warm, soft hug could help us connect." As she moves close, Sirius dodges and steps away. The Catwoman becomes frustrated, rejected again. Undeterred, she runs towards him, but he sidesteps her. As she jumps into the air, hoping Sirius will feel her softness, he avoids her once more. Sirius thinks the angle is right to check for hidden trait. He moves in the opposite direction, getting a clearer view. His eyes fall on her magnificent chest, causing him to blush. Determined, he remains focused on checking for traits. The Catwoman notices Sirius staring intently at her chest, even as he dodges her. After avoiding her, he stops moving, and she remains in place, pondering why Sirius has no evil thoughts. Sirius feels tense, unable to look away from her chest. "Why do you stare at my chest like everyone else?" she asks, demanding to know why he's so calm. Sirius responds calmly, explaining that he's an upright person with no lewd thoughts. He sees breasts as natural, providing nourishment. Sirius looks at her chest with gratitude, and the Catwoman becomes happy, blushing. She feels a strong, dazzling light emanating from Sirius, believing he's originally that kind of person. Realizing the gap between them, the Catwoman tells Sirius he's passed the test and can leave. Sirius wonders if she's genuinely letting him go, and if she's truly not Azathoth. He bids her goodbye and leaves. The Catwoman wonders if her training is insufficient, unable to seduce him. In the hall, everyone is distressed about Sirius's 0% evil thoughts, believing it's impossible for a man to lack interest in a Catwoman. Mia shares that it's her first time seeing someone with a completely pure heart. Sirius asks Mia if he's passed the test and if she can use purification, magic to remove the poison. Mia responds affirmatively and asks everyone to leave. Later, Mia and Sirius are alone in the hall. Mia tells him she'll detox him now and asks him to lie down. After lying down, Sirius asks if he needs to do anything else. Mia instructs him not to move, explaining that their purification magic comes from the Holy See, with each person having a specific body part for magic. Mia reveals her purification magic is in her feet. Mia begins the purification process, moving her feet in a rhythmic, stepping motion, her voice calm but firm. "You must not harbor any evil thoughts," she warns Sirius, "or it will weaken the magic." Sirius, tense and uncertain, asks if this applies only to him. Mia nods. "Since becoming a saintess of the Holy See, my desires have been stripped away," she explains. "I ask you to relax." "Sirius, I'll begin from the top to assess your physical condition accurately." Sirius reluctantly agrees. As Mia adjusts his hand with careful precision, Sirius wonders if she's repositioning him for the magic. He attempts to help, but she quickly shouts at him to stay still. "Any movement from you could disrupt the process," she says firmly, ensuring that everything is under control. Mia, complaining of being cramped in her chair, asks if she can use his face for support, gently placing her feet on him. Sirius is stunned by the closeness, but Mia focuses, guiding her left foot toward his hand, preparing to begin the magic. "I'm starting now," she announces. The moment Mia lifts her foot, Sirius feels an unexpected pressure on his face. The world around him seems to melt away as he suddenly finds himself floating in water. Confused, a weight presses down on him, Mia's foot. Instinctively, he tries to push back, but Mia's magic holds firm, her foot now suspended in midair. "Relax," she instructs, her voice calm as ever. "This is part of the healing process. I'm projecting your consciousness into your body to cleanse the poison." Sirius nods, trying to steady his mind. "I understand," he responds, determined to follow her lead. When she places her foot down again, he reacts, grabbing the toes hanging in the air. Mia explains that she'll pull him out in one go, but as Sirius braces himself, he finds something entangling him beneath the surface. "There's something holding me back," he tells her. Mia's voice remains composed. "Those are the poisons inside you. Grab onto my foot and I'll pull you free." Ceres struggles to grip her foot properly, considering tearing her dress to gain a better hold, but Mia notices and scolds him gently. That's rude. Despite her reprimand, he tightens his grip, feeling the poison being drawn away with each pull. Strangely, despite the intense sensation, there's no pain, only a strange sense of comfort. He feels the warmth radiating from his little finger, and as he's pulled further from the water, his finger regenerates before his eyes. Ceres's shock is palpable as he realizes the magic is actually working. Mia senses more remnants of poison and asks him to remove his shoes. Ceres does so, amazed as his foot begins to heal. The magic is truly incredible, he thinks to himself. Mia shifts her focus and explains that the poison has spread deeper, requiring her to change direction. She places a chair between his legs and asks him to lie down without moving. We need to work together now, she says. Mia then places her foot on Ceres's private area, explaining that this is where the poison originates. Ceres gasps, shocked by the sudden pressure and pain. In his mind, he's thrust underwater again, struggling to breathe as Mia's voice echoes in his ear. You need to pull the poison to the surface, she commands, her tone urgent. Ceres reacts angrily, his frustration boiling over. I can't breathe, he shouts, but Mia doesn't falter. Don't panic, she says softly, wrapping her legs around him. This will help you expel the poison. You need to strengthen your power. Ceres feels his body growing larger as he sinks deeper into the sea. He sees red roots wriggling beneath him. Is this the poison in my body? He asks, determination in his voice. He begins to swim toward the roots, ready to pull them free. In the real world, Mia feels an unsettling sensation in her own body as she continues to guide Ceres's cleansing.